For those who haven't seen it, referee Melissa Borjas went to the video monitor to take a second look twice during the match. First, when Ngozi Obere fouled Vivian Asay in the penalty box, leading to a penalty kick, and the second time when Nigeria's 18-year-old goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie hopped off her line by a foot. VAR alerted Borjas to award a retake. PSD writers Dan Carroll and Kyle Bon both have opinions, and we figured this was a good forum to get their ideas off their mind. Dan Carroll: in my opinion, VAR did its job correctly. The problem wasn't with VAR, or even the rules. It was with the referee, and how she interpreted those rules. The original intent for VAR was to be used to fix clear and obvious mistakes missed by the referees, especially the center referee. This includes many examples, such as an obvious handball in the box, the ball crossing the goal line, violent conduct away from the ball, or cases of mistaken identity with cards to players. I don't believe that either situation, the original penalty kick and the retake, were clear and obvious mistakes that were missed by the ref. Yes, was Asay probably fouled in the box by Obere? Probably. But Asay also got to the ball first and could have taken a first-time strike. While that may have been a foul if it had happened at midfield, and therefore was in theory correctly called, you've got the referee and at least one assistant looking right at the play. If the referee decides to play on, then play on. For the second, it was even more egregious. The new rules from the International Football Association board states that goalkeepers now only need to have 1 foot on the line on penalty kicks, as most goalkeepers like to creep up and step off the line to shorten the distance to making a save. Of course, in the men's game, this rule came to pass because almost no goalkeepers kept both feet on the line like they were supposed to. Like speed limit laws, it's a law on paper, but it's almost never enforced unless there's a serious issue, like someone driving 20 or more miles per hour over the speed limit. Most referees let them get away with it. In this case, the referee and 2 assistants should have seen Nnadozie encroaching off her line. They also should have seen the France players encroaching into the box before Wendy Renard took the PK, as former U.S. men's national team striker Herculez Gomez pointed out. The French players encroached the area more than the Nigerian GK comes off her line. pic.twitter.com/afjt9kuvan, Herculez Gomez, at HerculezEG, June 17, 2019. It even happened on the retake. Yet only Nnadozie was punished. Again, while Nnadozie was at fault, it shouldn't have been a clear and obvious mistake by the referee. Nnadozie didn't make contact with the ball as Renard's first strike caromed off the post, and if Nnadozie somehow got into the head of Renard by stepping 1 foot off the line, then honestly, that's on Renard. In my opinion, while VAR was used correctly, it wasn't in the spirit of the rule, why the system was put in the first place. Both situations could have been judged by the referee in the middle. And if referees are now delaying all judgment to the VAR, they lose all authority from players for regular foul calls, throw-ins, or any basic decision. Kyle Bon: here's the thing about VAR, when used correctly, which it has been on plenty of occasions, it has made the game better 100% of the time. It was never going to be perfect the first time around, as no sport has implemented a replay system with pinpoint accuracy in its first go. A replay system in soccer works and works well. Now it's time for the sport to adjust to the issues which have been presented. There have been 3 issues most frequently coming to light, 2 of which were predictable. The problems many people could see coming were the abrupt and awkward stoppages of play leading to long periods of waiting, and the unclear definition of clear and obvious error, leading to occasional poor application of the system. Those 2 issues deserve their own column and can be addressed by analyzing early usage of the system and tweaking its logistical flow to streamline the process. Thirdly, the system has brought to light certain rules that to the naked eye were never a problem as referees had discretion on how and when to issue punishment, but under replay scrutiny, everything must now be black and white. Do not blame the replay system for this deficiency. The rules were always the problem, the game just didn't care to make the adjustments, leaving the referees to do that on the field instead. Now, with the rules out of the referees' hands, the rules must change. Obviously the handball rule needs serious correction, and that could take years to pass out. One rule that could be effortlessly edited to fit the new VAR universe is the goalkeeper's positioning when defending a penalty, one that has become a clear hole in the rule book, no more evident than in the U20 World Cup and now the Women's World Cup. New Zealand was booted from the U20 tournament in a penalty shootout that saw one of the saves ruled a retake after Michael Wood was judged harshly for coming off his line. Now, as Daniel eloquently outlined earlier, the Women's World Cup suffers. The laws of the game admitted fault, editing the rules slightly to allow goalkeepers to have 1 foot on the line rather than 2, but this change has done little to fix the problem. Hopefully, a subsequent change will come soon to allow goalkeepers the ability to move in a natural manner while not gaining an advantage on the effort. Do not blame VAR for the issues built into the game of soccer that human referees were in the past able to mask with common sense no longer afforded to them in a replay world. With the ability to scrutinize millimeters of play using video replay, it's impossible for a referee to allow minor infractions for the betterment of the game. The game itself must adjust, and should that happen, VAR will be a fabulous addition to the game, but until then, fans, players, and coaches will be forced to swallow more cruel moments like we've seen of late, and the growing pains will continue to be noticeable. It would be peak Newcastle United of recent seasons to lose the coach to a squabble over the sort of players the manager wants to sign. Rafa Benitez's contract expires at the end of this month, and he makes decent money at St. James Park, but his $6 million pales in comparison the money being offered by a Chinese Super League club. Marta staying with Man United. Benitez wants to stay at Newcastle, but his concerns aren't about his wages as much as being allowed to build a contender under stingy owner Mike Ashley. With the team possibly getting a takeover, Benitez is not guaranteed the chance to improve his roster. Not to mention Newcastle operates under club-wide restrictions. Sky Sports says, the former Liverpool, Chelsea and Valencia boss wants to be given the green light to sign players over the age of 26, which has been against club policy in previous years. Sky Sports reports that Benitez is mulling a $15 million offer from Dalian Yifang, the CSL team currently sitting in 11th place under former South Korea national team manager Kang Hee-choi. Dalian Yifang currently employs transfer rumor mainstay Yannick Carrasco, as well as Marek Hamsik and young Ghanaian striker Emmanuel Boateng. If Newcastle allows Benitez to leave and the takeover is not completed, it would be the most embarrassing thing for the club since Joe Kinnear couldn't pronounce half of his players' names. That's saying something. Follow at Nicolas Mendola. Greg Berhalter's shaky USMNT welcomes several of its star players into the fold when it kicks off its 2019 Gold Cup campaign against Guyana on Tuesday. Latest Gold Cup scores. The match comes 2.5 hours after one between the two sides which conspired to keep the Yanks out of the 2018 World Cup. While the USMNT played the biggest role in that monumental failure, Trinidad and Tobago is the team that beat the Yanks in Vancouver on the same night that Panama scored a ghost goal to push the U.S. into fifth in the Hex. Guyana has lost to Haiti, Bermuda, and French Guiana in the last 8 months, and it would be stunning if the U.S. didn't post a generous amount of goals on the scoreboard even after miserable efforts against Jamaica's B team and Venezuela. Panama and T. Follow at Nicolas Mendola. After all the delays, obstacles, and promise, David Beckham may not wind up overseeing a minute of Inter Miami CF. Yes, really. A report from Christian Rivers of AS says the Manchester United legend is selling his shares of his expansion club, which is set to begin play in 2020, from US.as.com. Marta staying with Man United. Inter Miami CF has denied the report to several outlets, including intrepid MLS reporter Paul Tenorio. I'm told by an Inter Miami spokesperson that this is not true. There is no truth to this rumor. David Beckham is a proud owner of Inter Miami CF, https://t.co/Clasiancxeg. Paul Tenorio, at Paul Tenorio, June 18, 2019. Beckham's MLS contract allowed him the option of starting a club at the end of his playing career, and he opted for South Beach. But the English midfielder watched as stadium sites, lawsuits, and myriad issues got in the way of his project, which led to questions of will this ever happen, and multiple public announcements. It wasn't all negative, as speculators salivated over the megastar's expected to play for Beckham United. According to the report, current IMCF partners Jorge and Jose Mar Santos will purchase Beckham's shares. Nutty. If true, this report would be a facepalm for the executives of Major League Soccer who backed Becks at every turn, though maybe they knew it too. And if it happens, maybe this was always Beckham's plan. It would have been foolish for the entrepreneur to turn down the rights to his own team, and staying behind the brand this long certainly aided in the group's growth. But how will players and fans react in a market which has certainly had its problems growing, and has been rivaled by a number of upstart teams? Perhaps it's all foolhardy speculation, and the reporter was given bad information. Let's hope so, for the good of Miami having a successful team. Follow at Nicolas Mendola. The missions were clear for Australia and Brazil as Group C play concluded Tuesday at the Women's World Cup in France. Don't lose. Neither did, and Marta became the leading scorer in the history of the World Cup, stretching her women's record in the process. Marta staying with Man United. Italy 0-1 Brazil. Marta increased her Women's World Cup record for goals to 17 with a second-half penalty as Brazil finished third in Group C with Italy, Brazil, and Australia all finishing on 6 points. Cristiane Girelli had a goal rightfully ruled out for offside in the 29th minute, and Brazilian goalkeeper Barbaro made a point-blank save as the match neared half-time. As the match wore on, Brazil was seemingly content with handing Italy the group in exchange for the point which would hand it a place in the knockout rounds, but Abina hit the deck under a challenge by Lena Linari and Marta converted the penalty with 16 minutes to go. With its World Cup hopes in jeopardy, Australia turned to its superstar to get the job done. Sam Kerr scored twice in both halves to leave the Reggae Girls without a win at the 2019 World Cup. The Matleaders wasted little time in establishing control, getting a goal from Kerr to make it 1-0 and firm up control of their knockout round hopes. Jamaica did manage its first World Cup goal early in the second half, with Havana Saloon working around the keeper to score with one of her first actions of the game.
Kerr added a third before this gift from Jamaica completed her 4-goal haul.